Hello, I'm Cleo Amador and I'm a member of the UM-BWMC Volunteer Shortage Group.
Hi, my name is Laura Delaney, and I am another member of the University of Maryland, Baltimore, Washington Medical Center Volunteer Shortage Group who will be presenting to you today.
Hi, I'm Serenity Pulley, and this is our presentation on the University of Maryland, Baltimore, Washington Medical Center Student Volunteer Shortage.
Question: have you ever wanted to save a life? Have you ever wanted to make a difference? Imagine a world where you could help save a life today as a teenager. Well, today you can find out just how you can make a difference and save a life.
The University of Maryland, Baltimore, Washington Medical Center has faced a lack of student volunteers, which has caused a disruption of the smooth process of the hospital. They have a program in place for high school students 16 years old and older who can volunteer to gain experience and knowledge about the processes of the hospital. However, many students are not aware of this opportunity, which is causing a lack of student volunteers.
Okay, so I'm more than sure that you all are wondering, why is this such a problem? Why is it important? And why was it brought up into conversation? And the biggest thing is that volunteers takes up tasks that allows for our doctors and nurses to focus on patient care and give the patient a more memorable experience.
When you sign up to volunteer, you get matched in a certain department depending on your interests, your skill levels, such as in communication and professionalism, and where the medical center requires your assistance. The duties that are typically performed by volunteers are administrative duties, stocking supplies, visiting patients, setting up for events, directing visitors to where they need to go in the medical center, and many more.
I believe volunteering is a perfect opportunity to have fun and meet new people.
To have a better sense of what's going on in the world.
To put a smile on someone's face.
To learn something new.
Try something new.
Try something new. That's
Always try something new. Volunteering is a lot of people working together for one thing, one common goal, I guess you could say.
Volunteering is redefining yourself.
There's always something in it for you.
I enjoy it because I have fun, and the people that you meet, the emotions that you read off of them are something you can't really get anywhere else.
You see a new perspective on life.
It really changes your outlook on how you view life.
Everything you give, the little pieces add together. And so every time you volunteer, the little things come together and they create the bigger picture, and eventually that will be what you call your life.
The question is, why is there a shortage of volunteers in this hospital? This hospital provides students with great hands-on learning experience about the medical field, and it is also geographically closer to their magnet schools.
That's a great question. Why is there a shortage of volunteers at the hospital? When determining how to solve a problem like this, our team distributed some surveys to other students that would allow us to grasp the problem. From the surveys we conducted, we got final confirmation as to why there was a shortage at the medical center for volunteers. In our survey, one question we asked was, what are some of the reasons you don't volunteer as much? 62.5% of the students that responded said they don't volunteer because there are no opportunities near them. And when we asked, have you ever heard about the UM-BWMC volunteer program? 50% said no, while only 12% said yes.
To conclude that the number one reason that students are not volunteering was because of transportation,
as well as too many opportunities happening in Baltimore City.
From the survey we conducted, we were able to figure out what our solution needed in order to best benefit both the hospital and the interested students. They were to get the volunteer program opportunity known amongst high school students in the Baltimore, Washington area, to figure out a way to get students directly involved with the volunteering, to find a way to constantly let students know about the opportunities to volunteer at the hospital, and lastly, to figure out a way in which the medical center can stay involved with high school students in order to bring in more volunteers.
before the final decision to create the student volunteer program, other solutions were brainstormed, such as creating a social media account such as Instagram or Twitter, creating flyers, creating surveys for students, and the creation of a club. Each idea that was not chosen had a major flaw in it. With the social media account, it was not reliable to bring in volunteers. The idea of a flyer inviting students to the hospital was not an option because we could not control who paid attention to it and who did not pay attention to it. And a survey was not an option because with personal experience, we know the students really didn't like taking surveys.
Here's something to keep in mind as to why we chose the Student Outreach Program as the best solution. According to nationalservice.gov, 3/4 of youth who volunteer do so through religious, school, or youth organizations. And according to our surveys, when students were asked, do you feel like you would volunteer more if there was a club in your school that directly connected you with volunteer opportunities at the hospital, 87.5% of those students replied, yes. This is why we chose the Student Outreach Program over the other solutions as well.
The Student Outreach Program is the best way to bring in more volunteers and the best solution out of the ones we brainstormed because it allows the medical center to directly target students geographically close to the hospital. It allows for word of the volunteer program to be spread around among students and schools. And lastly, it allows for representatives of the volunteer program to directly connect with the interested students.
The Student Outreach Program would essentially be a club which acts as a bridge between students and the volunteer program at UM-BWMC. The outreach program works to bring in spokespeople from the medical center to the schools. Specifically, it would work to bring in spokespeople to Glen Burnie High School, Old Mill, North County, and Meade High School, since these schools are the schools in the Baltimore, Washington area and that are geographically close to the hospital. This allows the volunteer program to bring in more students who are geographically close to the hospital, which therefore increases the actual chance that those students would be interested in volunteering. The student volunteer program would be structured like many other clubs in a high school setting. It would feature a president who is in charge of enrolling more students into the outreach program, as well as running meetings, a vice president who works closely with the president to do those things, but also works with the advisors at Baltimore Washington Medical Center who are in charge of the student volunteer program, so we can make sure that the outreach program is doing everything that it can to benefit the Baltimore Medical Center. We would also feature a secretary who is in charge of keeping tabs on students currently enrolled at the student volunteer program, so we can send out questionnaires to them and surveys so we can see how they would like to improve and how they would like the student outreach program to evolve to better benefit them. A treasurer who is in charge of keeping tabs on funds raised from fundraisers and other endeavors as such, so we could in the future hopefully be able to afford a scholarship fund, which would give scholarships out to high-achieving students, create t-shirts, and provide snacks for student outreach meetings. It would also have a public relations officer who is in charge of all things social media for the student outreach program, as well. The club would also feature medical volunteer representatives who work as guides for other students who express interest in wanting to volunteer at the Baltimore Washington Medical Center. All students that are a part of the outreach program are required to volunteer at UM-BWMC, therefore they can be reliable guides for other students who express interest in volunteering, and so the student outreach program can have multiple points of views for multiple students. This allows students who volunteer at the medical center to be able to recruit other students to join in on the fun.
The club models key clubs and other volunteering clubs in a way that it's a bunch of students working together who are very interested in the medical field. All the students of the program will also volunteer together and there will not be alone, which will create an ease for the parents. And the program, being a club, also helps incorporate volunteering within the students' school schedule, since the club meetings will only happen during the school day.
A main goal for the student outreach program would be to establish a way for students to get to the hospital after school and for their transportation to be reliable so that students wouldn't have to rely on their parents.
The student outreach program would also work to connect with the hospital in order to find ways for students to volunteer and help the medical center without physically being in the hospital.
In order to make sure that this is a reliable solution and that our program will actually work, we have decided to make a goal. Our goal is to enroll at least 10 new volunteers into the UM-BWMC Student Volunteer Program in the first 45 days of inception. This is very important to us because it will allow us to revise the plan of action and get back to the volunteers as soon as possible.
In order to mark how well the program is doing, we will have to set up surveys in order to give out to students that have been enrolled into the program. These surveys will allow the people in the student outreach program to connect with UM-BWMC and express how students currently feel about the volunteer program and how the student outreach program and the medical center can work to evolve the program so students constantly want to volunteer in the future. The outreach program will also do trial runs at Glen Burnie High School before moving to other schools. That way, it is an established and viable solution that works before we spread it out.
The student outreach program number one mission is to allow students the chance to connect with WBMC student volunteer program and supply BWMC with the students who are applicable to volunteer. The student outreach program is the bridge that connects BWMC with high school students in the Baltimore, Washington area.
So there you have it. In conclusion, the student outreach program allows for students to volunteer at Baltimore Washington Medical Center with guidance and in a smooth and easy process. The student outreach program is the best solution in order to fix the student volunteer shortage at Baltimore Washington Medical Center, and we hope that you can take the student outreach program into your consideration.
We would like to thank our teachers, Mr. Deichman and Ms. Beasley, for the helping in the creation of our project.
We would also like to thank our mentor, Ms. Lindsay Calcerado, for helping us and giving us pointers on how we could create the student outreach program and what the medical center needed.
We would also like to thank all of you for taking out your time today and just taking time to listen to our presentation, listen to what we had to say. We sincerely, honestly appreciate that, and I hope you guys taken a lot from our presentation today. Thank you.
Help us start changing lives now with the student outreach program. Thank you very much.